communication. My name is Dara Silver. I'm with the Arts Council of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County, and obviously in Winston-Salem at my house. My right hand, left hand person is Jordan. He's actually stepped away from his camera. Jordan Medley is in our office, and he will be the contact for any of your questions. Also, I'll let Darlene introduce her team.
Yes, my name is Darlene McClinton. I'm the grants manager for Arts Greensboro. And my team, we have Shantae. She can introduce herself. She's over financing. She will be emailing you once you become an awardee. I also have Kendall, a North Carolina A&T intern that's been working with us, that's online, and she'll do a little bit of navigating later today. But I'm so happy to see all of y'all faces, and this is a good thing. It's money time, y'all. Money time. Shantae, would you introduce yourself?
Oh. Hey everybody, I'm Shantae Rankin. I am the Finance and Office Manager at Arts Greensboro. And like Darlene said, once you all get approved for your grants, I'll be the one that will be cutting your checks and sending them to you. So hopefully I'll be friends with a lot of you guys because I'll be sending you money.
And also we have a very special guest. We don't always get a chance to be in her presence, but we do have a North Carolina Arts Council member, staff on the Zoom call. So this is great. So anything that Dara and we cannot answer, she is here and she is the source. This is the North Carolina Arts Council right here. So Sydney Steen, good friend of mine. Introduce yourself, Sydney. Okay.
Hey, thanks for having me. What an introduction. Yeah, I manage the Artist Support Grant for the North Carolina Arts Council. So I've been working closely with Darlene and Dara. Here to answer any questions that they can, or if their plate is full, I'm here. Yeah, artist as well. So it's even more exciting that I get to manage an artist program because I feel like finally connected to like artists again, you know. Anyways, that's a digression. Thanks everybody for being here.
Last but not least, we do have our marketing director, Zizi, online. So Zizi, introduce yourself. She's the one that's marketing everything, trying to get it out to you all.
Hey everybody, I'm Zizi Barhuma. I'm really happy to be on this call and see so many folks have jumped on. I'm working with our Arts Council and the other Arts Councils in our Region 11 to make sure to get the word out and make sure as many artists of all disciplines and all backgrounds know about this artist grant. So please help us share the news, and we're going to have another info session on August 18th from 5 to 6 that we're going to be promoting after today too. Thank you.
Great, and I just wanted to introduce Jordan. Jordan, would you mind unmuting yourself and saying hello? Jordan's at Arts Council of Winston-Salem in Forsyth County.
Hey, I'm Jordan. Yes, I work with Dara at the Arts Council of Winston-Salem, Forsyth County as the manager of grants and support services. So a lot of the emails, you see my name probably on a lot of the materials, as well as Darlene's and Dara's and everybody else's. But to put a name to the face, I am Jordan. I'm excited to be here and to continue to answer any questions you guys may have about the grant and whatever else.
Great, and we have folks still coming in. For those of you who are just joining us, we just did a round of introductions of your main contacts at the Arts Council of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County, as well as Arts Greensboro. In the chat box, if you would put your name, where you're from, your art discipline, as well as your email address, so we can make sure that we have updated contact information and we can capture all of this and have it internally. We're joined by Sydney Steen with the North Carolina Arts Council. She's our local Arts Council's contact. I like to call the North Carolina Arts Council the mothership, a little parliament for your noon hour. But it's a wonderful thing that they're able to help us steer this program, especially during these times when we know COVID has really affected a lot of artists locally. So at this time, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started on our presentation. We hope to keep everybody here no longer than an hour. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat box and we'll try to answer them. But we still have people coming in, so multitasking here. Oh, not that one. All right, so you all should be. Sorry. So again, the artist support grant. Oh, we still got folks coming in.
Well, I'll go to the next slide.
All right,
And while you're clicking people in, I'll start.
there we go.
All right. So we already went over the welcome. Like Dara said, we're going to talk a little bit about the artist support grant, eligibility and requirements, the application process, the review process, and questions and answers. One of the reasons why this particular region decided to do a virtual workshop is because I've met several artists that said, hey, I do want to apply for funding, but I'm intimidated by the process. So we was like, hey, let's create a virtual workshop walking all artists through this process to let you know that it's not an intimidating process. You just have to kind of do a little bit of work. Okay, next slide.
All right.
Okay. A little bit about the Artist Support Grant. The North Carolina Arts Council has established the Artist Support Grant as a one-year regional grant program to support individual artists during and following the COVID-19 pandemic. The Artist Support Grant program expands the number of regional consortiums from 13 to 18 to ensure more equitable disbursement of funds to artists in rural and urban areas across the state. So this grant is similar to the regional artist grant, but one of the things that North Carolina Arts Council really wanted to push is for it to be diverse in all disciplines, cultures, and race. The program provides direct support to individual artists for professional and artistic development, either to enhance their skills and abilities to create work or to improve their business operation and capacity to bring the work to other audiences. So this is a really good thing. Okay, next slide.
All right, so eligibility and requirements. This is a new region, so Artist Support Grant is new. We're Region 11, and as long as you're an artist who has resided in the last year or approximately 183 days, we're not going to check you, but you need to reside in Davidson, Davie, Forsyth, Guilford, or Randolph County. You could live in a hodgepodge of them if you had just moved from one to the other. But it is a resident-based grant, similar to like REPG in previous years. Applicants should be 18 years old, either a US citizen or permanent resident. Artists who have lived in more than one region should apply where they spend the majority of the year. So if you've got a couple houses in the state, if you're that privileged to, wherever your home base is, that's where you need to apply. And just so you know, if you have friends that aren't in this region, there's another very similar grant in another region. So if you wanted to go to the North Carolina Arts Council website, you can find out that information. If you are a member of a collaborating team, you all still need to be North Carolina residents, and a majority of that team needs to live within the region. We will ask on the resumes that you're submitting for teams to list your residency.
Darren, really quickly, can I make an announcement
Go
with
for it.
collaborating teams? So say for instance, you all are visual artists and you have a mural team. That's what we mean by collaborating teams. Everybody that's on your team for this particular project that you're submitting for, we will want resumes for each artist that you're working with on a team. Even if it's music, dance, theater, any performing arts, if it's a team, that's what we're looking for.
And again, if you have any questions, if you're getting into the weeds, that's why we've got Darlene and Jordan. They're going to help you with that, with those questions. Multiple awards. So artists who are sole proprietors of their organization that have already received funding this current year from the North Carolina Arts Council are ineligible to apply. In terms of conflicts or interests, if you're on a board or a staff member of any of the partner organizations, so that would be Arts Greensboro, Arts Council, Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, Randolph Art Guild, Davie County Arts Council, Davidson County Arts Council. If you're on a board or a staff member, you can't apply, as well as family members are not eligible to apply. So again, if you're clicking off these check marks, you'll know if you'll be able to apply or not. Student status. So artist support grant is intended for adult non-student artists. So if you're an artist that's enrolled in a full-time undergraduate or associate degree granting program, you cannot apply. There's an exception though. If you are enrolled in a certificate program, you are generally eligible to apply. Also, if you're getting a graduate degree in some other field other than art, you are eligible to apply. So if you're getting your MBA, you can also apply for this grant. Eligible projects and costs. So what's new for the artist support grant is that all applicants can apply for up to 50% of the grant to support your artist fees. So the time and work that you personally take to actually do the project, you can apply for that within this grant. And we highly encourage you to do so. At this time, when we know artists have been really affected by COVID, it's important that we pay you to do this art. So the kinds of projects that you could apply for is completion or presentation of new work. So if you're purchasing art supplies or any kind of equipment, you need to rent space in order to produce a body of new artistic work, you can do that. If you're wanting to promote your own career, any kind of advertising, marketing, website, portfolios that you need, if you need to hire another artist to do these for you or a creative, you can do that. If you want to take classes, you can do that. You just can't go and get yourself a BA in marketing. You can do training. So if you wanted to attend a specific class or a workshop or a master class with a certain artist, you could do that. Travel. If you're needing to do research about an artistic project and you needed to travel to, any of those expenses can be covered in terms of traveling. Services, if you needed to rent, you needed to use recording space, you can do that as well. Supplies, any and all supplies that you might need. New mics, new canvases, new paints. We just ask that you be really specific in terms of that budget, and we want to know specifically what it is you're asking for. Microphones are a wonderful example. You know, you could buy a very low-cost mic, or it could be a very specific mic that you're needing for a sound for a certain project. So we just need to, in that budget that we'll go over later, we'll need to know specifically what you need, and as well as the artist fee that we talked about earlier. You can apply to that, have that covered as well.
Darren, make sure you letting attendees in too.
I am.
All right, next slide.
So ineligible projects and costs, any kind of scholarships for any kind of undergraduate or graduate level work. Projects that are political in nature, if you're opposing or supporting a particular candidate for office, we cannot use these project funds for that. Projects that are exclusive to members of a particular religious faith group, any kind of larger nonprofit initiative is ineligible, and then projects that don't have a direct effect on your growth as an artist. Remember, this grant is also dealing with professional development for artists. So whatever that project is that you're working on, you have to then tie it to how can this help me bring my career to the next level as an artist. Okay, Darlene?
Okay, so we want to, Sydney, I may need your help on this, but we want to give you some examples of grant recipients So for instance, we had a guy named Antonio Williams. He's a college professor at Guilford College. Visual arts. He received $1,200 to create a series of mixed media paintings and found objects which examine current society figures in regards to Blackness. So that's one project that was funded in 2019, 2020. We have another gentleman named Bonnie. He received $1,000 to develop a project as a ghostwriter and actor. It's called Chronicles, the Life of a Young Child from Boyhood to Young Adulthood. So this was theater. Here's another example. We have Portel. It was an interdisciplinary project. He received $750. It's called Gate City Voices, where he was dealing with a project dealing with a series of public screenings, educational workshops, exploring and intersecting public transportation with locals and immigrant youth. And then our last example is Anna, which was music. She received $1,900 to produce 10 musical works that uplift listeners, blend genres, and explore themes that are difficult to tackle. We also, if you are an author, spoken word, poetry, any performing arts that you do, these are just examples of projects that you can have to launch your career or continue to promote your career. So we want to give you examples of projects that we're looking for. It was an example. I was talking to Sydney yesterday and she said that's not good. So we would not fund things like a reception. Like say for instance, you have a solo show, you receive $2,000, you need money to pay for wine, food. Those are types of things that we don't fund. But we will fund framing, we will fund shipping, art supplies, different things like that.
And just also to let you know, collectively, we're capping these grants at $2,000. So that's about the budget that you would have to play with. Right.
This is the budget. Complete the following budget expense and income table. Expenses and income should be detailed, accurate, and consistent with the project narrative. Figures, round figures to the nearest whole number, 499.95. Next slide. So Kendall and I, which is the Art Greensboro intern, we were thinking as artists, what's going to be the hardest part on the application? Probably when we get to those numbers. So what we did is create an example. So this example that you're looking at, say for instance, your whole entire project is only going to cost you $2,000 to launch. So as you see, you'll see this little link that you have to upload to Submittable. This is information that we have to give to the North Carolina Arts Council, so it's important. You'll see description. I place as, just as an example, artist fee. I'm gonna pay myself as a visual artist $1,000. I created a budget of $540 for my art supplies, and in my mind, I'm preparing for a solo exhibition. Say my solo exhibition is in Winston. Hey, I'm gonna ship my artwork to Dara for $150. We need to promote, you need to promote your solo art exhibition. I have $180 for my budget. Framing supplies is $130. Where the column says grant, all you're gonna do is repeat the same numbers in this section, and then you'll slide down to total expenses. So it took 2,000. All of these numbers add up to 2,000. The grant is for 2,000, and then this other spot right here that says other sources, which when you do the link, because we haven't re-uploaded a new link, it's going to say match right there. But where it says match, we just want other sources, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. Then you slide down on the Excel file, and it has income. North Carolina Artist Support Grant, you'll just copy those numbers again. It's 2,000 total, 2,000 total for the grant, and same thing for total expenses. So this is for an example of if you only need $2,000 for your project. So that's why I don't have anything in other sources, because at the end of the day, if $2,000 is the max, that's just the max. Okay, go to the next slide. And then Sydney, I might need you to, help me make it clear for them. So say for instance, your project is going to be $3,000 or $5,000 project. So you got $2,000 that's coming from Arts Greensboro, the Arts Council, and then you will let them know your additional funding is going to come from other sources. So for instance, the Arts Council, we don't want to fund a project that costs you $3,000 and you're solely dependent on the $2,000 to do the project. So where is the other $1,000 going to come from? The Arts Council needs to know where that $1,000 is going to come from before we fund you $2,000. So that's where this column, other sources, come from. You only can get 50%. So again, artist fee, art supplies is really going to cost me $800 now, shipping $250, $180, framing supplies. Then where it says grant, the grant is matching $1,000. The grant is only still going to give me $550. So look at that. Art supplies, I have $800 for art supplies. The grant will only fund 50% of that, which is $540. So I subtracted 800 from 540, and that's how I got 260. So that's what you would have to do. This is where maybe it's in-kind donations or it's coming from other sources. That's where you will place that information for other sources. Sydney, did I say that right?
Essentially, what this is saying is that you are not required to have any supplemental income for this or any match. But if you do have an ambitious project and this grant is just one factor, one source of funding, you are able to use that column, says other sources, to separate what expenses and incomes are related to the grant that you've received from Forsyth Guilford, and then what are other sources outside the grant. So most of you or some of you may only be using the grant and you won't even need to fill out that other column. But if that happens to be one of your projects has other sources of income, then you do have to just separate it so we can see exactly what our grant was used for versus what other things were used for. So it's just an easy way to keep track of funding. And but it's not necessary for this year for you to match or provide any extra income. But for ambitious projects, you probably want to have that somewhere in your plan to show panelists, hey, I can make this project happen, even though it's larger than the grant scope that I'm requesting.
And I think it also gives good clarification for panelists about what exactly you need and what you're asking for within a grant. All right. So Darlene and Kendall.
Okay, next slide. What we're about to do now is walk you through the application process. So Dara, we'll email you this PowerPoint, but we're going to walk you through right now so you can see how it's a simple, straightforward process. So Dara, stop sharing your screen and Kendall will share her screen and we'll walk you through that process. So right here, you just click right there on the link, takes you directly to Arts Greensboro website. We'll click on funding. You will go down to for individual artists. You will go to artist support grant. Click. All right, scroll down, Kendall. It breaks everything down that we're talking about. I just want to suggest right here where it says download guidelines. I just would ask everybody to download the guidelines, read through it, make sure you're thorough. Once you do that, you can either keep scrolling all the way down, a little bit further, and then you can hit apply now. She's about to do that. Okay, when you hit apply now, this is the screen that you will see. Scroll down, Kendall, and you will click on the grant. Click. Boop, easy, breaks all the same information down. Scroll down to the bottom. Okay, then you click create your account. You have to have an account. Click on that. She's going to create a dummy account so you can see it. So she's going to use her email address, password. And the application process is very straightforward. Okay, you can personalize your account. We don't have to take time to do that. Or okay, just click continue. You can do that on your own. Figure that out. Okay, go down. Same information. And then here you go. You start right here. Are you currently a resident of one of the following counties? She's gonna click yes. Click, I agree. And then the next question comes up, and that's how it goes. Have you ever lived in the county for at least 1 year? Have you lived in the county for at least 1 year? Yes. Are you at least 18 years of older? Yes. Are you currently enrolled in a degree program? No. Then you put your artist support grant information in. Scroll right here to the right of the screen. It's my right. I don't know if it's y'all left, but it says enter a title for your submission. Whenever you're confused on the application, we have created descriptions. So just look right here. It's always in gray, a little bit of description to break something down. If it has an asterisk beside the question, it's required. Okay, scroll. Can do, yeah, keep scrolling. All that good stuff. Website link, please. If you don't have a website link, kind of put in an Instagram name, but just if you have a website, we need that website. We definitely need your race and ethnicity, and it's just because of final reporting process and your gender. So if you click on the that little arrow, you'll see you can just click on that. Okay, scroll up, Kendall. Project title. Keep going, keep going. Keep going. 500 limited words, 250. Okay, keep scrolling. Okay, here's this. Here's your artist statement. You have to choose your file. Look at this. It says acceptable file types. Look to the right of the screen. Attach an artist statement that describes your work and the key ideas. We're breaking everything down to you, so you shouldn't really have any questions. But if you do, Jordan and I are here to answer them. Your artist resume. Okay, scroll down. Detailed project budget. So that Excel sheet that we just showed you, you will come right over here. Look what it says. Copy and paste the link, Excel, into your browser. This is where Kindle is circling around. When you copy and paste it into your browser, that Excel sheet populates. You pop in your information and then choose, and then you upload it. No file has been attached. Once you have attached a file, that description will disappear. Okay, go up. Project income, project expenses, supporting materials. This part is very important. We need clear, high resolution photographs. I have a photographer on the line right now, Miles Darton. It's a few other photographers. If you don't have clear, high resolution photographs of your visual art, please reach out to a photographer, have them shoot it. If you have dance recordings, films, make sure everything is in high resolution, and then you choose your file and you upload your supporting materials. And scroll up. Letters of recommendation is optional, and it just depends on, keep going, your artistic discipline. And then it is, once you click on one, say for instance, we clicked on dance. We'll scroll up. Then dance files pop up. If you clicked on writing files will pop up. And then we have an inventory list below here, just to make sure when the panelists, we're looking over your application, we'll say, hey, Rasheen Pugh has sent us 2 videos. So I'll go to the inventory list just to double check to make sure it's really 2 and not 3. And then you just click certification, I agree. And that's it. Ladies and gents, that is it.
Darlene, I'll let, for the visual artists, I think you're able to submit up to 10 images. When you submit images, make sure that it's a body of work. I think that's usually most helpful and something that relates to what it is the project that you're applying for. So if you're trying to do new work, and I would just submit the best body of work that you have that falls within the timeline of artwork that you're able to do. We do want most recent samples of artwork so we can kind of see what the artwork that you're doing now. But again, that's why you've got Darlene and Jordan if you have specific questions. Oh, so there's a question about difference between supporting materials and picture uploads. Darlene, is there something specific in the?
It's picture uploads. What do you mean by picture uploads? Sydney, go ahead.
I think you're asking the difference between work samples and supporting materials, hopefully. Yeah, okay, so supporting materials is optional. And I mean this in the most literal sense. You do not have to include any. However, let's say you are attending a workshop, whether it's virtual or one day in person, or attending a conference, or production costs for a project you're working on. If you feel that including materials documenting this registration cost, or if you're working with a mentor, you want to sort of give validity to their practice. This is the section for some more forwarding materials where you upload those documents. This is very different from work samples, which are required and vary from your medium. And I hope you all don't mind real quick. There was 2 questions in the chat earlier that I'd like to really quickly go over because I think they're really good, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
Okay, so I'm trying to find them here. I think that, okay, what about advocacy projects, and can curatorial projects count? So first and foremost, you have to make the case about how this is a part of your artistic practice, right? So we know about the difference of artists and curators, but there are artists who act as curators as part of their artistic practice, or there are artists whose artistic practice incorporates components of advocacy and social awareness. So if you are wanting these projects to be social aware or curatorial, you just have to make that connection between how they're actually part of your artistic practice and not separate from that. I hope that makes sense. Just tie it into your work and your career as an artist, first and foremost, through that lens. And then a question about the websites. You can receive, you can use this grant to build your own website, right? That's increasing your online presence. But if you create websites for other people, that isn't eligible, right? That's more like a business operation. That's not your own artistic practice. So you can use this to build your own website. You cannot use it to build other people's or your clients. But I hope that cleared it up. If it doesn't, we're happy to, any of us can sit through and talk with you, any nuances of your application and what your artistic practice might count as. That's why we're here. So thanks for letting me talk.
Yeah, so there was actually one more good question. Somebody's at UNCG's master's degree program in library studies, and they want to publish a book on American history. Are they eligible for the program? Sydney, do you want to take a stab at that?
So you would have to be applying for an artistic project and for a project for your career as an artist. History, unfortunately, will not count, right? It's fine arts, general arts, all the different genres of fine art, non-traditional or traditional, but history, unfortunately, lies outside of that. However, if you can incorporate a historical element into your artistic practice, see, these are the cases where you can start to work with nuance. But if it's solely publishing a book on American history, well, let me think about that, because that would be a literature project. Let me think about this real quick, because if you're a writer and a literature, literature-based practice, and it's separate from your library studies degree. So this would have to be something that doesn't pertain to your library studies program. Thinking this through, right? If you're a writer, freelance journalist and a writer and published regularly in the flow of history. Okay, yeah, if you're a writer and you're not in school for this writing, then it should be okay. But this might be something that you be a little more nuanced to have a conversation. We can figure out. This might be a little bit more specific. But general rule of thumb, if this project that you're applying for is arts based and not related to what you're studying, then it's a go. But we're here to have conversations, so we might need to talk to you a little bit about the nuance of your application in this sense. Yeah. Sorry, it's a little gray area sometimes depending on the field of study and what the project is. And sorry.
Yeah, and typically for artists, it's creative works. It's creative works, chapbooks, You could do self-publishing, things of those. But Nils, you may want to get in contact with Sydney to kind of go through that a little bit more. And Sydney, you can put your email address in the chat box. That might help too.
Okay, Kendall, stop sharing, and then Dara, go ahead and you start sharing again so we can get through the PowerPoint so we have more time to answer questions.
Okay.
Woo woo, this is helpful, y'all. Okay, next slide.
So I think this is you, Darlene.
Me? Okay. This is the deadlines. The application actually opened August 3rd, 2020, 8 a.m. The application deadline is midnight Sunday, October the 4th, 2020. Again, we gave you the link to submit. The project timeline, recipients will be notified by December 15th of this year. Projects must be completed by June 30th, 2021. And then if you are an awardee, you will have monthly check-ins with me for me to stay on top of what you're doing, because at the end of the grant cycle, we have to complete a final report. So I do need to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, getting examples from your projects. So your project evaluations will be due 15 days after your project is completed. So if you complete your project before June 30th, that's fine. As soon as you complete your project, please submit a project evaluation on Submittable. If you take all the way up to June 30th, you have 15 days, because that gives Dara and I 15 days to create a final report to send to Sydney.
All right, and so the review process. So how your application will be reviewed. We're going to comprise I'm actually going to forward and then go back. Or maybe I'll do that. Oh, go back, sorry. Erg. All right, I'm getting back to this, hold on. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so evaluation criteria. How the panel will review this, half of this is based off of artistic merit. So it's really about the quality of your work that you're submitting. They're going to be looking at all of the work samples that you submit and coming up with a score, 1 out of 5. But just know that this is going to be half of what they're going to take into account. So they're going to be looking for some kind of talent in an artistic form, evidence of originality, inventiveness, and/or cultural significance can also count towards this. 25% will be based on your project merit. So how feasible is your project? Is it well organized? Does it show preparation and planning? Basically, does the panel understand that you know how to complete this project, especially if it has a lot of different tasks involved in it? Again, when you're talking about the project, you have narrative questions that you'll go in and fill out. Is your project well thought out? Is it clear? And does it also make sense when we're looking at the budget? So if you're talking about this project, this new body of work that you're doing, and you're telling us all about it and what you're being inspired by, but if in your budget, if we see travel and other things and it doesn't line up, you probably won't have a really high score in project merit because there's a disconnect there. So I would say anything that you're talking about within your project narrative, you need to also be mindful if you're mentioning something in the budget, you should mention also something in your project narrative. The last part is professional development. So 25% of the criteria is going to be based on how clearly can you show that you have a real commitment to being a practicing professional artist. And that can be taken from part of your narrative, if you're telling us about who you are and what you're doing, as well as evidence in your resume. So I would encourage you all to submit an artistic resume over a career resume. If you're in a different field, 9 to 5, that's fine, but make your resume as an artistic resume as possible so we can see the exhibitions that you've been in, so we can see where you've published, and we can see that you've built a nice body of work for yourself. So again, 50% artistic merit and 25% project and professional development. Review process. So all of the applications are going to be reviewed by a diverse panel of arts professionals. Typically in the past, what we've done in Forsyth County is built panels that are comprised of all different artistic genres. So there'll be somebody in literature, there'll be somebody in, probably a couple people in visual arts, a photographer or a painter or a craft person, as well as a writer, a dancer, somebody who's working in performative arts or film. So if you can imagine, you have all of these artistic genres combined together. A lot of them, as you know, may have different languages that we're speaking. So I would encourage you in your grant application to really talk to the masses and explain, really do a good job explaining about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And if there's something specific that you're asking for within the budget, provide a good explanation to that. We will have some experts in the panel room that can kind of decipher, give us a little bit of information, but if it's something very specific to a certain artistic genre, don't assume that a literature or a visual artist will understand the needs of a filmmaker. So we'll need you to help us explain that for us and advocate for yourself and your own project within your application. So the panelists will all use that same rubric that we went over, and they're gonna give you a grade, and that gives us something that we can begin to have a discussion upon about these applications. All panelists are going to be asked to provide feedback to all applicants, and upon request, we will share those scores and the feedback with you. I think that is it, and then we're on to questions and answers. And I think we had some questions in the chat box. I'm gonna.
Can you stop sharing so I can see everybody's face?
Yeah. Did I do it?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You mind, I see a couple of questions that I think I could answer real quick in the chat box.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, Don, you asked if you're designing your own website, how would you quote it based on what you normally charge your clients or another system? So for anyone looking to figure out what to approximate when creating a website, the first option is if you aren't doing it yourself, and you're using a template such as Squarespace, Cargo Collective, Wix, you could approximate the yearly cost for subscription. If you are creating a website yourself, you could make the case based on the hourly rate that you would charge your clients, or I think that what might be a more justifiable cost is if you are needing certain software or supplies or whatever assistance to create your website, then you can approximate the cost of that. If you do sort of submit a request to pay yourself for your hourly rate, I would make the case to the panelists that that's what you're doing. And also think about the fact, is that something that you'd rather incorporate to your artist fees, and are there other funds outside of that that you could use for an extension of this project? So it just depends on how you're approaching the website. Jordan asked, would artistic projects getting people registered to vote be crossing the line? And it depends. If you're an artist and you have a performance-based practice or community-based practice or different ways in which there is a political sort of tilt to it, right? Like I think some people might know the artist Stacey Kirby, who is a performance artist, and it's sort of satire based on political, historical political topics. Your project, if it was just getting people to vote, it wouldn't be an artistic project, right? How does it relate to your practice as an artist? You have to sort of create that constellation for the panelists to see how that facet would play into your larger career and how it is in fact a part of an artistic project. And then, I don't know, I'm so sorry, it just says iPhone, but you asked about a cultural themed summer camp where each week we study a different culture through cultural arts, food, music, and sports to introduce children to different children. And since you weren't able to hold a camp this summer, you'd like to pivot and create an online environment class where children could learn about cultures virtually. Off the bat, it seems like this isn't a project that might not be related to your artistic development as an artist. This seems more of like an organizationally based project or something that another grant might be more apt to cover. And I'm sure Dara and Darlene might have ideas, but for example, if this is affiliated with an organization like a 501c3, that'd be one thing. If it's an individual effort, we can talk with you to figure out either what grants are available or how it would be an artistic one. Off the bat, this doesn't seem like it would be an eligible cost. And then the inventory list, referring to items that you have on hand, or is it for an inventory of artworks in your studio? So the inventory list is directly correlated with the work samples. It's a description list, if you want to think of it that way. So visual artists, you're going to upload your 10 to 15 images or however many, and then you'll have items 1 through 15 or 1 through 10, and it'll be media, dimensions. For film or video, it's collaborators, date of location, that sort of thing. So it's just a descriptor of the work samples that you have uploaded. And I think that those are all the questions that I saw. And hopefully if Darlene and Dara or Jordan, if you want to add anything, please do. Yeah, but as you can see, it starts to get a little bit nuanced, and this grant is new. So all of these questions are helpful, but they might take a little bit more of a conversation in helping you format your application and how it relates to you as an artist.
Yeah, I think you answered that inventory list. I think there was another question about if you were applying for training, would you have to have an inventory list? Only if it related to the artwork that you submitted. Again, we just want to make sure that if you submitted 10 images, that we see 10 images that you submitted, or if you uploaded 2 performance pieces, we just want to ensure that we receive the 2. And sometimes you can, especially for the performative pieces, if you are a singer, but there are other people in the group, if it's also helpful for us to know who are we seeing and who should we be listening to within the work sample that you provided. I hope that makes sense. Question about themes and topics explicitly disallowed. We will not be censoring artists' work. All right.
Yeah, I would just say, as long as it's not illegal,
Yeah.
because it is state money, but no censoring artistic expression.
I want to make one comment before we keep doing the questions. We have Nadine Perdermo, who is a professional photographer online. So if you need your work shot, she can drop her information in the group chat. We also have a very well-known photographer, Becky Vanderveen. She can also drop her information in the group chat if you need your work shot. We do have photographers in the group. I'm about to scroll through to the next page. That's all that I see. But if you need your work, professionally, high resolution, documented, I will reach out to these photographers that are online. And I believe Miles Dorton is up here as well, and he shoots really well. And then also Demi Day has been doing very great work in Winston-Salem area. I would love for you to continue to help us reach out to more Winston-Salem artists, please, ma'am. And we have Tamika. She goes back and forth from Guilford County and Alamance County. So Sydney, Alamance County, they do have their own grant as well. So
yeah, that's Durham Arts Council is Durham, Orange, Person, and Alamance. And they just had a webinar, and it's recorded and will be up on their website soon. But that's who you talk to, is the Durham Arts Council or the Alamance County Arts Council.
A question about grant to buy printing equipment to duplicate art and to promote sales. Yes. I also saw a question about if a person was connected to a nonprofit group. This grant is for individual artists and unincorporated collectives, bands, one-time performance groups. If you're doing a dance performance and you're bringing together other artists to participate in it, but it's not for furthering a nonprofit arts organization's objectives. There are other grants for that. Yes, we can share this we can share this as a PowerPoint as long as you put your email in the chat box, so we have a way to communicate it to you. And we will also be putting we're recording this information session as well as next week's, and we'll be putting one of those up on the website so it can be available for any of your to use. All right.
Any other questions from anybody? You can unmute yourselves if you would like.
I would encourage you all to please apply. The North Carolina Arts Council has been really generous with this grant, and they've advocated for additional funding. So in total, we're looking to give out $60,000. I think ideally, we'd love to give away between 30 and 40 grants. The max is the max is 2,000 that you can apply for from this grant. But if you don't apply, we can't, and you don't submit a full application as well, that's also part of it too. We can't consider you. And just to let you all know, both the Arts Council of Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, as well as Arts Greensboro are very committed to the issues of diversity, equity, inclusion. That is one thing that we really strive for, is to make sure that when we put these grants out, is that they're representatives of all of our communities. So thanks again.
I wanted to ask something.
Yes.
Hello. Wanted to ask you about, there was an emergency fund. Is this connected to that you all were handing out emergency?
No, ma'am. I think we each have artist relief funds separately within our own counties. And then if you go to Arts North Carolina, artsnc.org, they also have individual artist relief, other sources that you can connect with locally as well as nationally.
So receiving anything from those emergency will not affect your eligibility here?
Correct.
Thank you.
All right.
I also want to let everybody know the Greensboro's Artist Emergency Relief Fund program is, this is the last week we're going to be sending out checks, because there are other opportunities for funding that we're really pushing our efforts towards, which is the Artist Support Grant and also some great opportunities with Guilford County. And if you guys will, I'll go ahead and put the link on the chat, but if you sign up for our newsletter, we've been pushing out notifications on that. Also, artist opportunities are also popping up on our email newsletter as well. So if you sign up, you'll get that information and be the first one to know. Right now on our website, we have some artist opportunities that are active on our page. So definitely take a look at our website and check it out.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. And we hope everyone takes care of themselves. Please look out for yourselves as individuals, for your families and your friends. We know this is a stressful time. I think we got a question. Feel free, if you have a unique situation, again, please reach out to Darlene or Jordan. They can help you navigate this grant as well. All right, take care. Much love to everybody. Thanks.